think big data is an important topic for almost anyone in business to consider, in that it's inevitable. So we're at a point in human history where everyone's carrying around a very sophisticated sensor that can both hear, it can see, it knows your location, your orientation, which direction you're facing, and people are voluntarily giving a lot of data, and that data is full of information, full of with the right analysis, you can convert that data into useful information and in knowledge about your customer. And so it's one of these things where I think it's a competitive advantage, and companies that ignore it are sort of ignoring it at their peril, because the competition is not going to ignore it. Big data has been enabled a lot by the mobile revolution. So the fact that everyone carries a smartphone, or at least a connected phone, you know, even if it is a feature phone, connected to the network, that has caused network effects. And having everyone connected to everyone else and having those data feeds alone creates a tremendous new wave. The second thing I would say, that's on the kind of front end of big data, so the collection end of big data. The opposite end, as Robin was speaking about today, is the processing power. I mean, there's just immense progress. Moore's law has continued in terms of processing power and database access and data, just raw data, how much you can actually manage and handle at a time, as well as, you know, what Amazon Web Services and things like that are doing. Like all of that on both ends, so the collection end and then the data processing and retention end has changed everything. There's clearly a lot of hype around big data, and I think that there's a lot of fear of the unknown around big data. It's not hype because, and it can be proven actually, because there are people who are using it competitively to brilliant results. You know, Tesco is a great example in the UK, Amazon globally, and anyone who shopped on Amazon knows it. Like, you go and you look at an item and it tells you what other people who looked at this item looked at and what they eventually purchased and what other things were related to it, and other things that related to other things that you searched for. So it's not hype, and it's becoming less and less hype over time as it gets implemented in real-world analytics, where, you know, it's using your mobile device. So not only it's what you were searching for, but where you are, what you did at this place yesterday, the week before, the month before. All of that is becoming very, very relevant and changing the dynamic of people's behavior. Predicting the future in terms of big data and mobile in general is a very difficult thing to do. I mean, the speed of change has been shocking to most people. Even if you did see the trend lines that Mary Meeker lays out and whatnot, it would be very hard to predict kind of what comes next. I mean, I think the safe part that you can predict about big data and mobile in general is more. I mean, there will just be more of it in every regard. People will share more, people will track more, whether it's their health or their location or their likes or dislikes. I mean, it's not going to decrease, that's for certain. And I think that we're going to start to see more sophisticated uses where people are appreciative of it. You know, so I want my phone to notice that there's traffic and tell me to leave earlier to some place that I need to be, this kind of thing. You know, so the predictive ability we're going to come to start to expect. And really need and want, you know, we're going to want that assistance in our lives, and that all is based on big data. You know, people have Waze on their phone, and it's tracking traffic, and so it notices that I need to go there, blah blah blah, all of that kind of stuff, and honestly, lots of things we haven't even thought about yet. So the next 5 years, the next 10 years will be, I think, shocking in the degree of change that we're going to see. I think the most important thing for businesses at this point to be doing is ask the right questions. So I see a lot of big data exercises inside of large companies where they say, oh, we can find out this information, and they do these studies or they collect this data, and then they don't know why they did that or what they're going to do with it. I mean, the important question to start with, if you're not dabbling into big data, is if I knew this, what would it change? What would it be good to know, such that I would change my pricing, or I would change my advertising, or I would change my promotions, or I would change my position in the market versus my competitors? Like, what about my consumers' behavior, my clients' behavior? If I knew that, A or B, whether it comes out a yes or a no, what would I change? And then that will tell you what data you need to collect. It's not, there's a bit of data for data's sake at this point. People have mountains of data and they don't know what to do with it. And so I always recommend, if they're kind of new to the field, to start with fundamental questions. I mean, what would you like to know? And then you can figure out what data you need to make that decision.